and welcome to the Slumbering Soft Book Nook, a podcast about all things books, publishing, and more. My name is Emma, and today my guest is Maleeha Mir. Maleeha is a second-year English student and has undertaken a vast variety of internships within the publishing industry. Now on with the show!
Hello, Maleeha! Hello!
Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, yep.
Good stuff. So, for those who don't know, we kind of know each other in person. So, we kind of met at the SYP conference last year for a mutual friend. Hello, Hannah, who is currently listening to this.
Thanks, Hannah.
Hello, Hannah. And we hung around at the conference, and then we went to the pub afterwards, had quite a lot of fun at the pub, and then obviously we bumped into each other at London Book Fair, and then we hung around at London Book Fair. So it was just a really odd, like, oh, I know you, you. So that is kind of good. So this is going to be a slightly different one, because obviously we're both still studying, so this is going to be quite a different thing. So, can you tell us about your current adventures? You've got lots of them.
Yeah. At the moment, I'm on quite a few adventures. Just like you, I like to keep busy.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I am a student liaison officer or student careers officer at SYP London. So I'm very much enjoying that, running workshops for SIP London, getting professionals in, teaching people who want to get into industry new skills so they can put on their CV, etc., etc. Also, I'm on a long-term internship with Lantana Publishing, and that's a diverse and inclusive independent children's publisher founded by Alice Curry. It specializes in children's picture books, but it's brilliant. I'm loving it there. But the funny thing is that I can do the work at home, so it's more like a home internship, which means during the day I can do other internships. So just today I finished a 2-week internship at another publishing house called Bite Back Publishing, an adult political publisher in Westminster, and it's been great. I'm learning so much, and my brain's a bit exploded at the moment.
Yeah, because you've done quite a lot, so I bet your CV is going to be bursting by the time you finish next
year. It's a bit too fat, and I'm like, what do I do with all these skills, Emma?
Yeah, I don't know. You're going to have to sort of pick the ones out, I guess, cater to each publisher. Yeah. Yeah, so on top of that, and we've had this discussion when we were at London Book Fair, we're both studying at the moment.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So you're currently doing a BA English, aren't you?
I am, yes, that's correct.
Yes. So how are you finding it so far?
I mean, I love English, so it was a no-brainer that when I went to university I was going to do English. But just like everything else, it's a degree. It's a hard degree. Everyone thinks that you do an English degree, you're going to be reading all the time. Yes, there's a lot of reading, but they're not, the things you read aren't always the things that you like. So yeah, exactly. And people have this presumption that I'm sitting there in the library enjoying my life. I have essays, I have coursework, I have dissertations to plan, I have my professors to see. But through it all, I do love it, and I'm sure you can agree. It's worth it, but it's stressful. The pressure's on. It's a degree, so it's bound to be heavy.
Yeah, I mean, on that topic of degrees, every university is different. So depending on what you want to get out of your degree, it's best if you're looking to start doing an English degree to obviously have a look first on UCAS, because they tell you different things and explore options. So with me, I thought my opportunity. I have to admit, but we'll see. We'll see how we go.
Crossed. Maybe you'll love it. Who knows?
We'll never know. So, sort of like going on to that, when you were choosing your English degree, what were the things you thought about? So, like, any advice you could give to somebody that is going into university or wants to do it in clearing, or sort of has that option? Because I think for me, it was more like a location situation thing, and obviously I had to explore what variation of the English degree I wanted to do. But how was your decision made, or what was your...
Well, my decision was like you, it was based on location. So I was determined to come to London because I love London so much. I am very, very poor now, unsurprisingly so. But I wanted to pick a university that not only gave me a BA in English, but I could go outside and live English, walk the streets that these authors walk through and be inspired by the city that, gave them so much, I don't know, the kind of topics and the kind of themes that revolved around London. And because London being such a literary historical city, you can find the kind of books that not only inspire them, but can inspire you as well. And I don't know, in London there are galleries, there are museums, and there are opportunities to see how literature we study in our degree have affected London and just generally England and in a wider context. But yeah, I think location had a really big part in for me. And then also I loved what my course was offering in my degree. It goes back to what you were saying. Make sure you research things. Even if you're going to clearing or if you're sort of your first choice, it's always better to be prepared. Look at what they're offering. There's no point in doing an English degree and it's all traditional classical stuff. It's great to do that, but sometimes people, some degrees are heavy on poetry, some degrees are heavy on playwrights and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, your degree sounds great. You get to do some publishing modules as well as English, so it's a good mix maybe.
Yeah, and plus you get the optional choice as well. So in your first year, you obviously don't get as much choice as you do in your second year. And in your third year, I don't know how it runs differently to you, but we have 3 modules, but your dissertation runs throughout your entire year, and then you get 2 modules either side. So I think we're doing modernism, and then we're doing like a publishing project, and then I think the dissertation. So then you get 1 optional module in your obviously the second semester. So I'm doing professional writing, but you've got a variety of choice that you want to do. I think it depends on if you do single honours or creative writing, and then I think we do like a second publishing module. So if you're going into third year, you are a bit more like limited because obviously your dissertation does take up a massive chunk of your final year, but I think that's better in some ways. Would you say?
Yeah, I agree actually, yeah. Because I don't know, I think your one's more varied. I feel like I'm just coming out with an English degree and it's only teaching me how to analyse plays, poems and poetry, which is all well and good if you want to go to academia, but I feel like your degree will be more functional when you look for a job.
But yours will be as well, because you've done the work experience with it as well. So your degree is kind of in line with your student liaison position at the SYP, so you kind of cross over quite a lot, don't you?
It is true. I think that's what pushed me to kind of apply to everything, because my degree was only English and not like a double honours. People do English with French or English with Spanish or English with publishing, but that's not offered at my university. But if it was, I'd jump for the chance of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think doing extra things is even better. I think that's another great thing about London. There are so many things going on, and I think, make the most of the opportunities that are around you, really.
Definitely. I mean, we know about the amount of reading that we have to do, and it pains me so much. I mean, some of the modules I pick creative writing because it's often a little bit more outside the box. So, with the dissertation,
give you a break for the academia, I think.
Oh my goodness, that means only next year, and you have to do like 1 essay module, which is great.
That's amazing.
I know, it's so good. So, obviously, going back to, we were saying obviously about your choices and your research, and if you want to sort of spot what you want to do with your location, your degree, would you also say that you have to sort of go to open days as well and sort of check out the campuses? Because did the facilities sort of help you decide?
I say definitely. If you're determined to go somewhere, it's always better to go there physically, because for me, I really go with my gut. If I go there and I like the environment, I like the people that are there, then that's the best thing for me, because in the end you're going to be there for 3-4 years, and so you have to be able to feel comfortable. You have to be able to want to be there, otherwise you're going to go to a place that you've never known before without having visited, and just have to, these are 3 stressful years. The ways that you can make it unstressful by enjoying the environment there and being able to, after a lecture or a seminar, go to a coffee with your mates and just kind of digest what you've learned.
Yes, exactly. I mean, not picking the uni so much, but the thing I got asked the most when I was doing my student ambassador work for my subject was the people used to come up to me and go, how much reading do you have to do? How do you do it? And I went, I don't know. I still haven't mastered it. I guess just whenever. Because sometimes you don't read all the books on the module that you're supposed to. Sometimes you just read the books that you want to read, and if you know the questions for your essay, you're like, I'm going to read that book because that is... But I'm not saying that you shouldn't. It's just that's like worked for me. It might not work for everybody else, and I think
you're reading smart, which is the main point, right?
Yeah. So you have to. A lot of ours have been classical literature, but we had topics we can choose other stuff as well, because I know some friends of mine did this year. I think it was Apocalypse and the Modern Novel, so they had quite a lot to read, but they were short books. But some people can just sit down. If you've got, like, I've got Ulysses this year coming up, I don't know how I'm going to read it. I think we're only reading extracts, but I think reading books in parts has definitely helped, and then you go back and take some notes, and then you kind of go, actually I remember where I left off. So that's my advice to anybody that's kind of coming into doing a degree. Like, you can do it. You just have to figure out your own way of reading. So how would you go about reading all your books and top of everything?
Well, I don't know. For me, just like you, there's no way the 2 years that have gone by so far, there's no way I've read every single book on the list that they give us, because it's never ending.
It's impossible, basically.
It's really impossible. They make us feel bad about ourselves for not reading them all. But I think just like you, making it manageable. I think so the essential reading that you have to do in the list, try and read one or two that interest you, because those are the things you're going to read, not quickly, but you're going to enjoy reading them. There's no point reading the one that's really boring and you fall asleep. And that way, when you're in the seminar, you can actually talk about it passionately and kind of, get the point across that you would like to make. And I think that's what it is, making it manageable, as you say, making it bite-sized. And even then, if you can't read them properly, I'm guilty of it. Go on Spark Notes. Try and find summaries that help you get through these very long chapters. I mean, we had to do The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser.
Oh, okay.
And that was... I enjoyed it, but it was extraordinarily long. And because it's old English, it is very hard to keep up and try and figure out, oh my God, does this word mean the same thing as what we're used to now, or whatever it may be. But yeah, just trying to make it work for yourself, really. Make it easier. It's hard.
Exactly. And I mean, if you go back and sort of read, we did the Victorian period, so we did that last semester. And I found when I read North and South, I really liked the book, but the sentences for Victorian lit are really long, and I don't...
It's so long.
They're so long. The sentences in Victorian literature is always quite long. So my best thing that I learned was I researched around the topic. Most of the some modules are in time periods, which I think is a lot easier because you can go and research what was going on in the period, what circumstances the books were written by, what the author's background is, because that can normally reflect on a lot of stuff that they were writing. Elizabeth Gaskell, I thought, was an amazing, interesting person to read about.
Absolutely.
I picked up her autobiography, which was like her biography, not her autobiography, but like some really good biography, and it really helped me like understand. There's one chapter my tutor recommended about North and South specifically, and that was really helpful. So that's a bit of advice, I think, is read around the topic as well, around the book.
Absolutely. Yeah, because a lot of our English degree is it's derived from context. Yeah. Historical, social, political. It affects literature we read, and I think reading around is the best thing you can do, really.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of moving to a different topic now. You've done lots of internships, as we were saying.
Yes.
So a lot of people are like, how do you get all these internships? And I'm pretty sure every time you get an internship on Twitter, everyone's like, how do you get all these internships? How are you not falling apart yet? How are you like sort of keeping it together?
Yeah.
What is like your advice to people that want to sort of get an internship or get that work experience? Like how you did it, and then maybe what your advice would be for anybody that like wants to do that? Yeah,
I mean, for me, I'm very, very I think you and I both, we're very, very proactive. We try to keep others busy. And the thing is, any opportunity, we just grab it. So, for example, one thing, no matter where you are, you can use Twitter. Twitter is so important in the industry. It's the best advice I can pass on to anyone who is finding it hard to apply for internships and not getting anywhere. Go onto Twitter, follow all the professionals that you love, whether it's publicity or editorial, marketing, whatever it may be, because, it may be one day that they're your boss, or they're the managing director of this and that, or they're the HR person, and just engaging with that publisher, engaging with that person, obviously in a respectful way, not saying. Making jokes as long as you know them well enough, but I think it's worth it kind of making that communication, because they do remember you. People in HR and people in the publishing industry, they do remember names and comments. That's how you and I met. We met on Twitter initially. That I didn't, I saw your picture, I was like, oh, we passed each other, I saw your name, and I was like, Emma, and
it's weird when people do that for the first time and you're like, do I know you?
Yeah, because we are strangers technically, but we're Twitter friends and now we're real friends. So, exactly. we're an example of what can happen.
Exactly,
and then I think another thing I would say is, with all these internships in the world that are, they're publicized and you have to apply for them, CV, cover letters, don't be disheartened by any rejection. Because, in the moment you feel like, oh my God, I'm the only one being rejected. A lot of people are being rejected from these internships, and it's mostly because it's not because you're underqualified or you haven't got the experience. You're trying to get the internship to gain experience. It's because of how competitive it is and the lack of spaces that there are available. And if, like, for example, yourself, Emma, you're living far away, how many opportunities will you have for an internship? So you need to find new ones, like, for example, doing it online or working from home, because our internships like that, it's just a matter of trying to find them and trying to portray yourself in the best light for this publisher to, take you on in that regard.
Exactly. And also it's harder when you see all the SYP stuff going on, obviously, because London's very proactive. They have lots of events going on. So the only time I sort of went was the big conference, because everybody went there, no matter where people came from. People came from, there was someone from Nikki. I think Nikki came down from Edinburgh. There was someone else coming from Manchester. There's people coming from everywhere. So it kind of makes it a lot easier because it's a bigger event. However, if you've got other events, some people can't always travel up to that. So I think definitely maybe, if you can't get there, there's always live streams or live tweeting you can always sort of get involved with. That's an important thing, I'd say. Yeah,
I think definitely just trying to, find, as you say, different ways of engaging. If the live stream is there, use it. I mean, there was a live stream of SYP event, how to get into publishing, and it was great. It's on Facebook, it's on their Instagram, it's on their Twitter. Use them, because if you can't make it, we are trying to make it more inclusive for different regions in the UK. But obviously we are London. I want you to take over the SIP in your area, because I feel like you'd have lots of ideas as to how to, make more events and improve it.
Yeah, exactly. And also I think it's just keeping on track and just trying to keep on board with everything that's going on all the time. So the publishing news, in learning, even if you just pop to Waterstones and find your, what books are in the charts, or just, I do that every once in a while. I'll go and have a look, or something about what's on the charts. So maybe, just go and have a wander around your local bookshop and just try not to spend anything like I tried to do.
It's so tempting, Emma, okay?
Not when you've got friends that work in publishing, it's quite difficult. So then no one goes, I don't want that book, I've got so many. Which I've done a clear out, which I feel a little bit better about, so that's not too bad. So last but not least, and I know we could probably go on talking about the stuff, but what book have you read recently and would you recommend, or something that you've read in the past couple of months that you would like to, say about?
Yes. Well, recently, I finished it this morning, actually, so I'm very excited to tell you guys about it. It is Almost Adults by Ali Pantoni. So it's published by Ivory Publishing in Penguin Random House. And basically, this book is for you and I. It's for anyone who is going into work and is struggling and trying to meet the expectations of society. By a certain age, you should have achieved all this much. But basically, it follows 4 female friends, and it shows their struggles and triumphs as they try and become proper adults, hence the name Almost Adults, trying to get jobs, trying to maintain relationships, and just generally deal with life. It's very relevant and very realistic representation of young people struggling through life and, through personal things. And I think you and I and a lot of young people now, they can relate to the situations and feelings within this book. Funnily enough, if you are very interested in it, the blog tour is happening right now for the ebook. It's a 2-week blog tour. And as a plug, I'll be joining them on the 29th of June.
Yay!
But yeah, that's another thing you could do if you are far away. Sorry to add that on.
Yeah, plug that in as well.
Add that in as well. Become book blogger, read the bookseller.
Exactly.
Things like that where you can do and are manageable. You know, especially as a student, you and I, we try and do as much as we can, but we have to do manageable things.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've definitely had to sort of turn down other stuff as well to try and keep on track of everything. And I definitely have been there when I've been overwhelmed going, I can't do all this. But you just have to slow down sometimes and just concentrate on uni for a bit. And then you go and do stuff during the summer. So
exactly, that's what the summer's for.
Exactly. And thanks for the recommendation, because I think a lot of people are in that boat, and I know a lot of my friends who we're all graduating next year that are all going to be in the same situation. But it's always nice when you're all going through it together. So
exactly. Well, when you're going through it, you feel like you're going through it alone. You're really not. Everyone's struggling, especially in publishing. We're all struggling. Believe me.
Yeah, when you're trying to save for a house and you're trying to do everything else as well, it's very, 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 very busy, and then you're trying to work as well. So we got that covered. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I haven't spoken to you in ages, so it's been a lovely little catch up.
Yeah, but thank you so much for having me on. I'm really, I'm so happy you asked me. I was like, oh my God, I feel famous. Emma's asked me to be on her podcast.
We'll definitely have that plugged. All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Emma.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. You can follow Maleeha on Twitter at mmir08. If you'd like to get in touch with the podcast, you can get in touch through Twitter at novelim16 and use the hashtag slothcast, or you can send me an email at slumberingslothbooknook@gmail.com. You can always find our podcast on YouTube, Slumbering Sloth Book Nook, or you can download it from Podbean and Apple Podcasts for an on-the-go experience. See you next week. Bye!